The Sydney Marathon was officially inducted into the World Marathon Majors after its 2024 race, making 2025 the historic debut as the 7th World Major, and the first in the entire oceanic continent. You might not appreciate how much has changed in 2025 and why day one of its expo was actually scary. Sydney's course is only about 25 years old. It started right before the 2000 Summer Olympics, originally as a test event before the Games. That first year had just over 5,000 public participants. And after Olympic buzz faded, the race kept going, quietly, even as numbers dropped. By 2014, it saw about 3,500 runners, which is fine for a local event, but that's absurdly small for what's now a world major. And yet, it kind of sums up Australia. There's a definite pride in quality over quantity. Over 4 years, the race organizers met the strict world major criteria, and finally, Sydney joined the ranks, the 7th star and the only one in the southern hemisphere. That little 3,500 person local event has turned into 35,000 runners where it's very hard to get in. And I can tell you firsthand, Sydney's organizers earned that. What up, Sydney? What I can also tell you is that running the marathon doesn't have to be the hardest part. You could easily spend 7 to 12 hours a week training, nail your nutrition, refine your long runs, taper like a pro, then life shows up. My traveling companion's car got T-boned on the way to the airport. No injuries, but plenty of stress. And it just sets the tone because traveling halfway around the world to run 26.2 miles throws down the gauntlet and things can happen. This is a trip that made me realize that the Sydney Marathon won't just test your legs. It will also test how well you can adapt. So let's talk race day, because Sydney's course is special and tough. That first and last third are completely different, but both will slam you with rolling hills. My Garmin said I climbed 111 floors that day, and for a New Yorker's context, the World Trade Center was 110. That's just not an added climb that most marathoners sign up for, and it's why Sydney's finishing times are going to run slower than Berlin's or Tokyo's. When my wave started after a 25-minute wait, I still had that perfect mix of jet lag and pent-up adrenaline. The road began with wide highways, the same ones that runners might have been cabbing over just hours earlier, but those are now closed to cars. And for a few miles, it's just pure flow. It is not the prettiest stretch, but the energy is unreal. There's just thousands of people running over roads that are normally just for vehicles, and it can very much feel like jets in formation. And that part of the marathon makes you believe that you're there to thrive, not just survive, but Sydney can humble runners fast. After that opening burst, the course shifts. Rolling hills, long flats, and neighborhoods that show you a different side of the city every few miles. From the quiet stretches with volunteers and handfuls of locals, all of a sudden it's going to turn into packed city streets with kids cheering, music blasting, families. The whole route becomes alive. Whether you're zoning out or locking in, the whole city quickly shows itself, and the course rewards effort before then throwing more hills your way. It is a marathon through Sydney's most storied areas, from highways to harbors, from glass towers to tree-lined streets. In that final third, though, the course is going to start punching again. Every mistake made before and during the race shows up here, and that's where the real test begins. That point of a marathon where everyone feels like walking whatever's left, but I will be honest, I am an American millennial dork. I am made of the real stuff, so I have found myself asking.
You had one chance to set a good time. Would you walk or would you jog a little?
The Sydney Marathon ends at the Sydney Opera House. For most of my life, I'm afraid that building was just an idea, maybe just a cultural wonder in the Civilization game series, but seeing it in person, actually having that engraved in my metal, finishing a marathon beside it, it really is something else. After that one last hard uphill through a city that wants to celebrate how hard you can keep going, there is one final downhill which opens up to the harbor and that white shell roofline. You are exhausted. You're running on fumes, but that moment hits hard. Even halfway around the world, you want to push it. There's going to be thousands cheering, the vibes, echoes, harbor, beautiful park around the Opera House. It is definitely the kind of sensory overload that imprints itself forever. Sydney is not a race where people really compete against each other. It is a race where people complete together. When I got back to New York, I think the most common question was, how was the run? And that's interesting to me because my feeling is the whole trip was worth everything that went into it. And yeah, that includes a BMW. Sydney was my 7th marathon. It was not my slowest, but I would say it was my hardest. I have raced in the cold, I've raced without caffeine, but this one took real grit. It's still also at the same time in my top 3 for enjoyability. Because beyond the challenge, it's just a beautifully organized race with 4,200 volunteers in a city that genuinely celebrates effort. If you're able to get in, just bring a plan A, a plan B, and a plan C because you'll probably use all of them. And the marathon might end at the Opera House, but you came all that way, you're not home yet, so the journey doesn't. After the race, I went north. I swam the Great Barrier Reef, which was as breathtaking as it is in danger. This is also worth getting over my healthy fear of sharks for. I'll just leave it at that. But from there, I explored the Whitsundays, where the sand literally squeaks under your feet. And then I got a 700-kilometer drive into the outback, where I learned to take that last gas station sign very, very seriously. I even spent a night in a refurbished train car, and then wandered through the Undara lava tubes, which that World of Warcraft level definitely was not inspired by. Every piece of this trip added something new. Just reminded me how big the world is and worth exploring. I didn't even have a passport until a few years ago, and now I'm kicking myself for not doing trips like this sooner. I used to think trips like this were not for me, and it turns out that was very wrong. In my opinion, the Sydney Marathon doesn't just give you a race to finish, it gives you a reason to go. I stayed at the Crown Plaza at Darling Harbour. It was 15 minutes from the start line. Great breakfast, except for race day because my wave started too early. But it came with all the Vegemite that I wanted, and it made it really easy to explore from there. And compared to somewhere like Japan, Sydney's an intuitive city for a Western to navigate. Australia is also just one of the healthiest and genuinely positive places I've ever visited. Now, I've got 2 more marathons left this year, Marine Corps in New York, but something tells me that I'm going to keep thinking about earning Sydney's star, everything that it took to get there, and everything that made it stand out.